So it's about August 4th, and we're starting to get our deck in. So the floor joist girder beam work is all done. So they've started on the rough framing for the deck area. This is the pressure treated redwood that's going in to support the deck. And as you can see, it's a pretty beefy, even just substructure for the deck. Those are 6x6 posts with a 6x12 on top. So pretty hefty lumber going in, and then it'll be supported by a lot of cross bracing within that structure as well, kind of similar to what they've got down there, just temporarily to hold it. So that'll be a lot of wood going in there, but really all the framer's going to kind of do is pretty much that rough framing and then a couple of cross members at the top. They're not going to do the flooring or the decking at this point. We'll probably save that till towards the end of the project, but they're at least getting their lumber in there now. Over here, we had to have a 3-inch penetration added into the foundation. They forgot to do that initially, or had a different plan for some reason. But effectively, this is where there's going to be an outdoor sort of kitchen area here, and they need to be able to get the drain work into the crawl space so they can join it up with the rest of the drainage for the house and get it out through the waste vent. So that hole had to be added, and as you can see, all of the floor joist work is now done. Really all we're waiting on here at this point is the plumbers to come in and start roughing in all the waste vent work, and then also kind of loosely roughing in the gas work. The county wants to make sure they inspect the waste vent plumbing, at least the stuff that they can see before the subfloor goes down. So that will need to be inspected. They also said they'd like to see the gas work, although because the gas meter is being moved and there are obviously no appliances in the house at this point, they won't really be able to do much of a test of the gas line, but at least they'll be able to see the runs and make sure that that's in there. So that work will start in a couple of days, and then as soon as the plumbers are done and the waste vent is wet checked to make sure that it's not going to leak, then the subfloor will go down and all the interior framing will start. But in the meantime, in those areas where they don't need to wait because the subfloor is already down, they've actually started framing in the house. So we've got a little bit of a look of what this room and this kind of part of the house is going to look like. This is actually going to be part of the master closet in this area, and then over towards this part of the house, this is going to be the guest room, just part of the window. All the interior here has to be changed yet, but they're at least kind of getting there. Center of the house, all the joists are in. They did a great job with the girder and beam work in here to kind of reconstruct the structure to take advantage of that T foundation, which had to be added in the center of the house to support all of the roofing that's eventually going to go up above this area. They also kind of framed in the old chimney spot where it's not going to be any longer. So this is all looking pretty good. They've left a little access area here so that the plumbers can get in and out relatively easily. But other than that, they're basically done, and then we had to have a new access cut in that area. It wasn't sort of initially thought of, I guess, by the architect, but because the waste vent exit is up kind of underneath these subfloor boards that are just kind of laying there here, they never thought that you'd actually have to get the plumbing from the back of the house through this area to get out of the house. So we had to make sure we added a crawl space access so we can get the waste vent out through there. And actually at the same time, it makes it easier. They'd originally assumed that this area of the crawl space was going to be isolated, so they had another sort of access hatch in this area. Now that we've got it connected to the main crawl space and actually pretty close to where the access hatch is, which is over here, we don't need to do that. So it'll simplify this area a little bit, kind of killing two birds with one stone. Back here, they've basically gotten most of the cantilever bump outs kind of done already, at least from a flooring standpoint. They've got the venting in, and obviously the sort of wire mesh grating that they need to vent that into the crawl space. These are going to bump out, maybe 1.5 to 2 feet, just to give these rooms a little bit more space and to allow for sort of a bench seat in the rear there to make those a little bit more spacious, because they were kind of small and isolated. And then this, basically the same thing. These two rooms are effectively identical. They're both getting the bump out treatment, and we can get some just bigger windows in there and capture a little bit more light from the house. And then other than getting all the joist work done in this area and starting to make the cutouts for the venting, we're starting to get a garage, which is nice to see going in. So this is the just exterior wall framing for the garage. You can see they've got some of the brackets and tie downs already in place, and at least some of the rough framing done. They'll have to do, you know, a little bit more, but I think again they probably can't do too much more until they really get the subflooring in the rest of the house and they can start tying it to the interior structure. So they can get a little bit done and they'll support it for a while, but at least you can kind of get a feel for, you know, what the new garage is going to kind of look like, which is nice. And the good thing is they are framing it up at the same height as the rest of the house. For some reason originally, whether it was an error or not, they had called for just a standard 8-foot ceiling in this garage with this framing height, and the fact that it sort of steps down maybe a foot or so to get to the grade. We'll probably have 9-10-foot ceilings in the garage when all is said and done. So it should be relatively spacious in there, which is good just for work and hopefully having some tools and things like that in there. Other than that, you know, it's just progress as usual, which is a good thing to see. I will say the framer's done a great job of making progress where he can and keeping things moving. So at this point, it's really all on the plumber to keep that progress going. It'll probably take them about a week, maybe a week and a half, to do their work under the house in terms of the rough gas and the rough framing. But as soon as that's done and gets inspected, which should be just a day's worth of effort, then the subfloor can go in, and quite frankly all of the interior framing can start going in, which will be nice. You'll really start to see the walls and rooms coming together in sort of their final form. And after that, things should move pretty quickly. They'll get the subfloor down, they'll get the interior framing done. Obviously the exterior framing is already kind of underway. Once that's done and inspected, then they'll move right into the sort of plywood cladding and the shear walls they need to add. The roof trusses should be coming in right around that time so they can get the roof done and get the plywood on the roof. And at that point, we're pretty close to a sealed shell again, which is nice. I mean, there's still obviously going to be a ton of work to do, but it will be pretty sealed off and we can get the other trades back in to really start doing the work. But it's really coming along, and again, the framer's making a lot of fast progress, which is nice to see. So I'm sure he wants to get done with our project just like we want it done, so he can move on to the next thing, and we're okay with that. But another week or so, and this is going to look more and more like a house again, which is good.